Once upon a time, in a kingdom where the palace towers touched the clouds and the golden gates never rusted, there was a rule that nobody ever said out loud, but everybody knew. Royal blood does not mix with common blood. Not ever. Not for any reason. Not even for love. Prince Cael had grown up with this rule his whole life, and he had never questioned it. Not until the morning he rode out alone and stopped at a village well to let his horse drink. A girl was already there, drawing water. Her name was Catherine. She did not recognize him as the prince. She did not treat him any differently than she would treat anyone else. And when his horse knocked over her water bucket by accident, she looked at him and told him plainly that she had already drawn that water once this morning, and she would appreciate it if he was more careful. He got off his horse, helped her refill the bucket, and rode home thinking about her the entire way back. He went back to that village the next week. And the week after that. Always alone. Always without telling anyone at the palace. He and Catherine would talk at the well and walk along the forest path nearby, and she spoke to him like a normal person, which was something that almost never happened to him. Everyone at the palace always talked to him with one eye on who he was. Catherine just talked to him. He fell in love with her completely, and there was no going back from it. She fell in love with him too, but she was more careful about it than he was. She knew exactly what the world thought about a prince loving a village girl. He told her he did not care about any of that. They got married in the forest on a quiet night in early spring. A village elder performed the ceremony by firelight with 3 of Catherine's friends as witnesses. No grand decorations, no royal music, no announcement to the kingdom. Just 2 people standing in the firelight saying words that they both meant completely. Cael had never felt more sure of anything in his entire life. Catherine had never felt more happy and more afraid at the same time. They kept it secret for 4 months, and those 4 months were the best of both their lives. Then, someone saw them together in the wrong place, and the news found its way back to the palace. The king called Cael into his private room. He told Cael that he knew about the village girl. He said it would stop immediately. He said that an arrangement had already been made with Princess Belle from a neighboring kingdom, and that arrangement was not going to be disrupted. Cael told his father that he was already married. The king looked at him and said that a forest ceremony with no royal recognition was not a real marriage. It was a mistake. And mistakes could be corrected. Cael said that Catherine was his wife, and he was not going to pretend otherwise. The king said quietly that if Cael cared at all about what happened to the village girl, he would think carefully before deciding to be difficult about this. That last sentence was the one Cael should have paid more attention to. 3 days later, he rode to the village, and Catherine was gone. Her house was empty. The neighbors said men from the palace had come 2 nights ago with a royal order and taken her away. Nobody knew where. The village elder told Cael in a low voice that palace officials had also come to collect the record of the ceremony and had explained very politely what would happen to him and his village if he ever spoke about what he had seen in that forest. Every piece of evidence that the marriage had ever happened was gone. Catherine had simply been erased. Cael went straight to his father and demanded to know where she was. The king told him she had been moved to a house in a village at the far edge of the kingdom, that she had been given money to live on, and that she would be taken care of. Cael asked for the exact location. The king said no. The king then told Cael that Princess Belle would be arriving at the palace soon, and that Cael was expected to be present and respectful, and to begin his royal duties properly. Cael said nothing. He walked out of the room and went to his own room and sat there alone for a long time. He did not agree. He did not refuse out loud. He simply went very quiet and very still. What nobody at the palace knew was that Catherine had been pregnant when they took her away. She had found out 2 weeks before the palace men came to her door, and she had been planning to tell Cael the next time she saw him. That next time never came. She was taken to a village called Thresh at the far edge of the kingdom, where the road ends at the base of the hills. She had her baby alone in that small house on a night in late autumn with only a village woman to help her. She named her Lyra. She told the people of Thresh that she was a widow because it was the simplest explanation. She raised Lyra in that house with real love and very little money, and the kind of quiet strength that comes from a person who has been through something that should have broken them and decided it was not going to. 3 years passed. Cael went through his life at the palace like a man walking through a room in the dark. He performed his royal duties and attended every required event and said everything that was expected of him. Princess Belle had come to the palace and was living there as the arrangement required, and she was a decent and kind person, but Cael kept a polite distance from her because he was not free in the way that would have been needed to be anything more than polite. But Cael never stopped looking for Catherine. He just got quieter and more careful about it, and every path he tried ran into a wall that his father had built specifically to stop him. The truth came out in a way nobody expected. An older palace servant who had worked there for 30 years became very ill that winter and was told she did not have long to live. She asked to speak with Cael privately. When he came and sat beside her, she told him that she had been carrying something heavy for 3 years, and she did not want to die with it still on her. She told him she had overheard a conversation the night Catherine was taken. She told him the village was called Thresh, at the far eastern edge of the kingdom, at the base of the hills. She told him that Catherine had been pregnant when they took her, though she did not know what had happened after that. She said she was sorry she had not spoken sooner, and that fear had been her reason, and she knew it was not a good enough one. He left before sunrise the next morning with no announcement about where he was going. 2 days of hard riding brought him to Thresh in the late afternoon when the light was low and golden over the hills. He asked the first person he saw if they knew a woman named Catherine who had come from the west about 3 years ago. The person pointed to a small house at the far end of the road with a well-kept garden out front. He knocked on the door. There was a pause, and then footsteps, and then the door opened, and Catherine was standing there looking at him. Neither of them said anything for a long moment because there was too much to say and no good place to start. Then, a small voice came from inside asking who was at the door, and a little girl appeared at Catherine's side and looked up at Cael with eyes that were exactly his own in a much smaller face. Cael looked at the girl and then back at Catherine, and she watched him understand what he was seeing. He came inside. Catherine made tea. Little Lyra sat on the floor, playing with 2 smooth stones she had decided were very important, and Cael and Catherine sat across from each other and talked through everything that had happened on both sides of those 3 years, covering all of it honestly without leaving anything out. When they had gone through all of it, Catherine asked him what he was planning to do now. He told her he wanted to bring his family home to the palace. He said he was ready to stand in front of his father and the entire court and say out loud exactly what had been done and what was true. He said he was not afraid of any of that anymore because 3 years of loss had changed his understanding of what was actually worth being afraid of. Catherine listened to everything he said. Then she was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked around at the small room they were sitting in, at the garden visible through the window, at Lyra on the floor with her 2 stones, and she looked back at Cael, and she said no. She told him that she had built a real life in Thresh, a small life, but a true one. She said she did not want the palace. She had never wanted the palace. She had wanted him. And if he was asking what she truly wanted, what she wanted was for him to be here, in this house, in this life, with her and Lyra. She told him she understood completely if that was too much to ask, and that she was not asking him to give up anything, she was only being honest about where she stood. Cael sat with that for a long moment. He looked at the small room and the garden through the window, and Lyra on the floor, and Catherine sitting across from him, waiting for him to say something. Then he said that it was not too much to ask, that it was actually the only thing that made any sense to him, that he had spent 3 years in a palace full of gold, and it had felt like nothing, and he had spent 10 minutes in this small house, and it felt more like home than anything he had known in 3 years. He sent a letter to the palace that evening written in his own hand, addressed to his father. He did not wait for a reply. The king was angry for a long time, and then he was less angry, and then eventually, in the way that grandparents often come around when they have no other real option, he came to visit. He arrived in Thresh on a gray morning in a very large royal carriage that looked completely out of place on the small village road, and he sat stiffly in Catherine's small kitchen and drank tea from a plain cup and said very little. Lyra brought him her 2 smooth stones and put them on the table in front of him and told him they were special and that he could hold them if he wanted. The king looked at the stones for a moment and then picked them up and held them, and something in his face changed in a way that all the arguments and letters had not managed to change it. He came back the following month, and the month after that. Catherine's garden grew wider every year. Lyra grew loud and happy and completely unbothered by the fact that her grandfather arrived in a royal carriage. Cael learned how to fix a leaking roof and plant vegetables and talk to the neighbors at the well in the morning, and he found that he was not bad at any of it, and that he was happy in a way he had not been happy in a very long time. Princess Belle, back at the palace, eventually made her own life on her own terms, which she was more than capable of doing and had been waiting for the space to do for quite some time. And they lived, not in a palace with golden gates, but in a small house with a good garden and a leaking roof that got fixed every spring, and they were happy, which turned out to be more than enough.